Okay, today we're going to do lesson 2.6, product and quotient rules. Okay, so that homework, let's write on your packet, just numbers 1 through 10 is due Friday. Just 1 through 10. So we'll go through and do the notes that will cover that. Okay, go ahead and flip to 2.6, the product and quotient rules here. And let's go ahead and start with those notes. Okay, so product rule first, and then we'll do the quotient rule afterwards. Okay, how to get some pencils. Alright, so the product rule says the function is the product of two differentiable functions, then the derivative is the first times the derivative of the second plus the second times the derivative of the first. Okay, so in other words, you're going to take the regular function and times it by the derivative of the second function plus the original function, second one, times the derivative of the first. Okay, so we'll find the derivative of the following functions here. In the last section, you would have FOILed this and then taken the derivative. So this is just another way of doing it. Okay, so if we call this f of x in the rule here, even though the whole thing is f of x, and then g of x for the rule up here, just to follow that, we're going to write f of x, g prime of x, plus g of x, f prime of x, and that'll be our derivative. Okay? So let's write what that is. F of x is going to be 2x minus 1 times g prime of x. Well, I'm going to go to x minus 4. Its derivative is just 1. Plus g of x is x minus 4. And then f prime of x is the derivative of 2x minus 1, which is just 2. Okay? So then we'll get a function, and we'll have to combine like terms, and that'll be it. Okay? So this would be 2x minus 1 plus 2x minus 8, which should give me 4x minus 9 for the derivative. Okay? And real quick, if we FOILed the top here, just so you can see it's the same thing, we'd have 2x squared minus 9x plus 4. And so if I took that derivative with the power rule, 2 times 2 is 4, x to the 2 minus 1 is x to the 1, and then minus 9, so they end up being the same. Okay? Alright, now that's fine for A if you wanted to FOIL it and then get your answer, but if you look at B, that's a lot to multiply together, okay? And as they get bigger and bigger, it's going to be way faster to do the power rule. Alright, so let's do that again. We'll let this one be F and the next one be G, just so it follows the rule above. So this derivative, there's a lot of F's going on, so I'm just trying to call it derivative, will be F times G prime plus G times F prime. Okay, so let's find what that is. F is going to be x squared plus 3x minus 1, and we'll times that by the derivative of 2x squared minus 5. So that's times 4x plus G is 2x squared minus 5 times the derivative of F. So that's 2x plus 3. Okay, so we are going to have to FOIL this right here. But the first one, we just got to distribute 4x to everything. Okay, so this will be 4x to the third plus 12x squared minus 4x. Okay, And then I'm just going to go ahead and FOIL without combining like terms yet. So we'll do rainbows and smiley faces. And then we'll combine everything together. So instead of like combining here and then combining here, I'm just going to FOIL and combine all at once. So this will be 4x to the third minus 10x plus 6x squared minus 15. Okay. And so we will have for a final answer, looks like 8x to the third plus 18x squared minus 14x and then minus 15. Okay? That's that derivative for part B. Okay, part C, definitely want to talk about because you can't exactly tell what the two functions are. It's not as obvious as part A and B. But if you let 2 be with sine x, that can be your f. And then cosine x, that can be your g. Okay, so we finally don't have something with f here, so we can say y prime. So that would be f times g prime plus g times f prime. And we just got to find what those are. Alright, so f is 2 sine x times g prime, the derivative of cosine x is negative sine x. So times negative sine x, not minus sine x. Then we'll do plus g, which is cosine x, times the derivative of sine x, 2 sine x. That's just 2 cosine x. Okay? So we'll actually have negative 2 sine squared x plus 2 cosine squared x. And that's your y prime. That's your derivative. Okay? Alright, last one, D. If you think you got it, you can pause the video and check. If not, just follow with me. I'll let this be f and this be g. So for g prime of x, we will have f times g prime plus g times f prime. And I'll figure out what those are. Okay, so f is 3 e to the x minus x squared. G prime is 3x squared. Okay. Then plus g is x to the third minus 1. And f prime, we gotta take the derivative of 3e to the x, which is 3e to the x. And then minus the derivative of x squared is 2x. Okay? So again, we will have a FOIL on this side, but our first term is just to distribute. So I'm going to times all these together and then combine everything at the end. So this will be 9x squared e to the x minus 3x to the fourth, okay, plus 3x to the third e to the x minus 2x to the fourth, minus 3 e to the x plus 2x. Okay? And so the only things that simplify have to be exactly the same exact terms, exact power. So it looks like just the x to the fourth. So then combine and that's it. So I'll have 9x squared e to the x minus 5x to the fourth plus 3x to the third e to the x minus 3 e to the x and then plus 2x. Okay, sorry I ran out of room all right there. Okay, the only things that combined were the x to the fourth. Alright, that's a product rule, so let's move on to the quotient rule, which kind of has a lot going on. But if you do the same thing we did with the product rule, you let one be G and one be F, the top be F and the bottom be G, you're just going to follow this pattern, okay? So it'll be the numerator times the derivative of, the denominator times the derivative of the numerator, F, minus the numerator times the derivative of the denominator, all divided by the denominator, squared. Okay? So, G times F prime of x minus F times G prime of x all over G of x squared. Okay? So for the most part, I'm not going to use that. I'm going to use the next one, low D high minus high D low. Okay, so it'll be the low derivative of the high minus the high derivative of the low all over low squared. Okay, if you think of the high and the low of a fraction. So let's do that. I'll do A with F and G, and then I'll do B with low and high, and you can kind of decide what you like better. Okay? So for part A, quotient rule, G prime of x is going to be equal to G F prime minus F G prime all over G squared. Okay? And when you write the G squared on the bottom, group it up. Just put it as x minus 5 squared. Okay? So what do I mean by that? G prime of x equals, so I'm going to write G first, x minus 5 and group it up, times F prime. So I'm going to take the derivative of the top. That'll be 6x squared plus 8x, and that's it. Okay. Minus F, so I'm going to write the top, 2x to the third plus 4x squared minus 7 times the derivative of the bottom, G prime, and luckily that's just 1. Nice. Okay, all over G squared, so I'm just going to take x minus 5, square it. Okay, so now it's just a matter of simplifying. I got a FOIL here. And then, oh, here's nice, it's just times 1. And then we'll combine the numerator, and you just are going to leave the bottom like it is, x minus 5 squared, just leave it like that. Okay, so we'll have 6x to the third minus 30x squared, and then plus 8x squared minus 40x. Okay, and then I'm going to distribute here the negative, and then we'll combine like terms all together. So minus 2x to the third minus 4x squared plus 7, and that's all over x minus 5, the whole thing squared. Okay, so final answer here, combine everything and you're done. So x to the thirds, we have 4 of those. X squared, that makes negative 22 minus 4, negative 26, x squared. And then minus 40x plus 7. Those didn't combine with anything else. And then all over x minus 5, the quantity squared. Okay, so just leave your g of x like that. All right. Okay, let's do B. Now this one I'm going to call low and high, and then I'll follow low D high minus high D low. It kind of sounds weird right now, but once you do it enough, you'll get used to it. You'll remember the way the saying goes. Also, you always really have your notes, so that helps too. Before I go there, I want to point out it does matter what order you do this in. It absolutely matters. You have to start with g of x, or the low. If you don't, you're going to get the minus wrong, and you're going to combine, and it's all going to be wrong. Okay, so your order really matters. Okay, so let's go low D high minus high D low, and figure out what that ends up being. Okay, so low is e to the x. D high is 2x. Derivative of... I'm so sorry. Okay, I mixed up what high and low are. Hello. Let me get my white out. That's not right. High would have to be the top one, and low would be the bottom. Hello. Okay. So it's high over low. There we go. Alright, so low D high is going to be x squared plus 1. D high, the derivative of e to the x is just times e to the x. Okay? Minus high, high is e to the x. D low, that's just derivative of low is just 2x. All over x squared plus 1 quantity squared. Okay? So low D high minus high D low over low low, low squared. Okay, so now you just multiply and we'll see if anything combines. So g prime of x is e to the x, x squared, plus e to the x, minus 2x, e to the x, all over x squared plus 1, the quantity squared. And nothing combines there. They're all different powers. The only thing you might see is e to the x factored out. You might see that, so go ahead and just copy it down for your notes so you can see just an example there. Since e to the x was in every single term, it might end up being factored out. Okay, let's go to the back page. We have a couple more. Yep, and then we're just going to do a couple on the bottom here. Alright, so ln x over x minus 2. Let's do low and high. Let me make sure I do it right this time. High over low. Okay, so we'll do low d high minus high d low over low low. Okay, for the derivative. Alright, low is x minus 2. D high, the derivative of high is 1 over x. Derivative of ln x is 1 over x. Minus high, ln x. D low, derivative of x minus 2 is just 1. All over low, low. Low squared, sorry, x minus 2 squared. Okay, now for 1 over x, we are going to have to times it by x minus 2. Okay, so for f prime of x, if I multiply both of these by 1 over x, I'll have x over x, which is 1, minus 2 over x. Okay, and then we'll have minus ln x all over x minus 2, the quantity squared. Okay? And for now, don't worry about getting rid of that 2 over x. That's fine. Just leave it like this. Okay? So, y. Let's find y prime. This is with sines and cosines, okay? So we'll do low d high minus high d low, and then all over low low. Low squared. Okay, so the low here is 1 plus cosine x. D high, derivative of high, sine x, that is cosine x. minus high is sine x. D low, derivative of 1 plus cosine x. Well, the derivative of 1 is 0, so you're really just taking the derivative of a cosine x. So that's negative sine x all over low squared, 1 plus cosine x, the whole thing squared. Okay? So notice when I really actually do low d high, I put them in parentheses, so I don't forget to multiply them. That's really important. This is not sine x minus sine x. This is sine x times negative sine x. Okay, so the numerator we're going to have to just distribute. So we'll have cosine x plus cosine squared x. Okay, and then negative sine x times negative sine x is a positive sine x, sine squared x, excuse me, all over 1 plus cosine x quantity squared. Okay, so this gets a little bit tricky because cosine squared x plus sine squared x equals 1. So let's at the top, if you forgot that, sine squared x plus cosine squared x equals 1. Okay, that's a rule of trig. It doesn't matter what I plug in for x, like on the unit circle, it's going to equal 1 when they add together. So this will really be 1. So I'll actually have cosine x plus 1 over 1 plus cosine x squared. Let me zoom in there. Okay, and you've got to simplify that. Clearly, one of those factors will cancel. So my y prime will be 1 over 1 plus cosine x. 1 over 1 plus cosine x. Okay, again, these factors cancel. They're the same, even though they're in a different order. Same thing. And that says 1 plus cosine x on the bottom. Alright, so if you have a simple trig identity like that, you need to keep going in your problem. Alright, last one for example 3. We're going to find the tangent line of the graph at 0, 1 for this function, and then that's it for these notes. We're just going to say what the bottom is, and that's it. Okay? So, last example, we have x comma y. We're going to have to plug in the x value once we've found the derivative, and then we'll use point slope. Okay, y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. Alright, so we'll do all that. So the first thing is finding y prime, and then we'll plug in 0 for x. Okay, so if y, let me start out by writing what y is, again, just so you can see it. Okay, so here's your high and your low. Let's figure out what y prime will be. So we have low d high minus high d low. And we'll put it all over low squared. Okay. So low d high will be 1 minus sine x times the negative sine x minus high d low will be minus cosine x. Whoop, cosine x, excuse me. Times the derivative of the bottom. So again, 1 is 0. So we're just taking the derivative of negative sine x, which would be negative cosine x. All over low squared, 1 minus sine x squared. And I have a feeling something's going to happen up here similar to the last problem. So let's see. Keep simplifying. We got to distribute the top. So sine x plus sine squared x. Okay, then we have plus cosine squared x all over 1 minus sine x quantity squared. Okay? So actually it looks like these factors won't fully cancel. Okay. That's alright. So this will be sine x squared x plus cosine squared x is 1. So we're just at sine x plus 1 over 1 minus sine x squared. So we got to find that at x equals 0. That'll be the slope. That'll represent n. Okay? So this will be sine 0 plus 1 over 1 minus sine 0, the whole thing squared. And sine 0 is 0, luckily. So we have 0 plus 1 over 1 minus 0 squared, so that means m is 1. Okay? So going back to the problem, it gave us a 0.01. We have the x and y. We didn't have to solve for it. So our equation of the tangent line will be y minus y1 is 1 equals m 1 times x minus 0 x1. Alright, so it's y minus 1 equals x, or y equals x plus 1. Okay? Alright, let's stop there for notes today. We'll finish example 4 and the rest of this tomorrow. So go ahead and do number 1 through 10 on your homework, and that'll be due tomorrow.